Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is May the 25th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. We're having a good Saturday. Dare I say, a great Saturday so far. We had a really fun last night, but I'll chop it up. We'll get into it. We'll start with the day, though. I've definitely just been trying to get my rest. So, woke up around, I want to say like 7-ish, 8-ish. But then quickly went back to sleep because I was still sleepy, still tired. We didn't wind up getting up and at 'em till around 12, which, kind of set me back again. But hey, I really do know that I need the rest. Just given how weirdly active I've become as a human being. I find myself like just laughing at the fact that I'm like actually a busy person, even though I'm just chilling by myself most times. But usually I'm zipping and zapping and all this stuff. It's fun though. It's good. It keeps me, I don't know, very locked in, which I like. Let's see here. But we got up and we went to the gym. We had a really good gym session. We crushed some PRs for myself, so that felt good. Some personal records were bested, which is really what the max lift is all about for me. And just feeling more comfortable under the heavier weight, I think it's just really satisfying, y'all. It's nice to just come in, hit this, and then just feel good about it. Like, we did it, And I think really the only thing I just want to keep working on is my form, just getting better at that. And also just making sure that I'm not overdoing it to the point of hurting myself. I feel like in the beginning I was doing that a lot more, and I've gotten better at that, so that's good. That being said, I will say that my right leg kind of took a little bit of damage, it seems. Like my foot and my quad kind of got a little burnout, a little cooked. But overall, I think I'm fine. I feel functional. I feel good. Nothing a few Tylenol probably won't fix. You know what I mean? So good gym session. And now we're back here. We're podcasting. But let me go ahead and talk about last night. We had a fun Friday. Excuse me. I got invited to a game night from one of my friends, and essentially half of it was we're playing Magic the Gathering, and then the other half we played a board game that one of the birthday boys. Happy birthday, Andy! Actually, he's been on the podcast before. You know him, a friend of the pod. But we played a fun game of Commander. Back to Magic the Gathering. That was solid. Had a really good time. And then also, the board game was called Horrified, if I'm not mistaken. It's a board game that we had played before, I want to say a year or two ago. And it kind of played out the same way. But essentially, the way the game goes is it's a cooperative game, which is very fun, I think, for a board game experience, to be able to, like, sit down with your friends, and it's not you versus them. It's everyone in a collective to try to win. So that feels good, right? And plus you are going up against these iconic, classic, spooky yuki characters. We had Dracula, we had the creature from the Black Lagoon. Those are the two baddies that we had to beat. The other ones were the Mummy, the Invisible Man, and then Frankenstein and Frankenstein's Bride. So we were going up against Dracula and the creature of the Black Lagoon, and it was rough. These are the easiest two in the game, right? But we were struggling. And we were able to beat Dracula, which is something we usually do. He's a chump, apparently, in this game. We bust all the crypts, we beat him up, we're done, cool. And then we struggled because with the creature of the Black Lagoon, for his objective, you have to do all this extra stuff, we thought, and we just weren't able to beat it. So we were unsuccessful in beating this game again. And then our friend looked at the directions and he's like, hey, we were doing this part of it wrong. And we just kind of we're dumbfounded, because it's oh, well, I think then if we had known that, we probably would have won. So I don't know, that was a bittersweet thing. So hopefully next time we play this game, we'll do it 100%, and I'll come back with better results. But outside of just the fun, the revelry, the games, we had good food, really good food. I want to start off by saying they had like this nice little fruit banana chip. Like there was like some strawberries, there was some mangoes, some fresh mangoes. With like a yogurt center dip situation. So that was like a little tray that was going on. There was like some veggies and peppers. They had some hummus. They had some ranch. So I was getting my little graze on. Yum, 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 yum. Then there was some pizza that arrived, and it was yummy. Shout out to Marco's. We love some Marco's. They had like a shredded pepperoni. I think there was a spinach. There was a mushroom. I think that was all of the pizzas that we got. But yes, all very yummy. I ate all of them. I had a slice of each at least. I think also I'm missing, there was some chips with some good guac. Not guac. It wasn't guac. But, like the medium verde, like the verde salsa, the green salsa. And then a nice like chipotle red salsa. So yeah, nice spread. Good homies. Good fucking times. I really enjoyed myself. I had a blast. So yeah, that was my Friday night situation. That was the Saturday pump. So let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. Also, sorry if you're hearing some outdoor activities. I know the kids are playing. People are mowing their lawns, I believe. It's summer Saturday activity. That being said, it is a 69 degrees. Nice, I guess. It could be nicer though. No. I know some of my friends, they love a cold summer, but I'm really not loving it. I'm just not digging it. I want to be out. Anyway. Oh my. Oh. Oh. Mm. Yummy. All right. Whew. Our first story comes from the BBC. Israeli strike kills nine of Gaza doctors' children, hospital says. An Israeli airstrike on Gaza hit the home of a doctor and killed 9 of her 10 children. The hospital where she works in the city of Han Yunis says. Nasser Hospital said one of Dr. Ala al-Najjar's children and her husband were injured, but survived. Groom, a British surgeon working in the hospital who operated on her surviving 11-year-old boy, told the BBC it was unbearably cruel that his mother, who spent years caring for children as a pediatrician, could lose almost all of her own in a single missile strike. Israel's military said its aircraft had struck a number of suspects in Han Yunis on Friday, and the claim regarding harm to uninvolved civilians is under review. Whatever the fuck that means. AKA, they're trying to find a way to say, hey, this isn't our fault, and like we were aiming at targets, we were shooting at Hamas, and who's really in it? Like, they just come up with whatever fucking excuse of the fucking week to try to sell to the people to absolve them of the fucking atrocities that they're committing. I get sick of running it down week after week or day in or day out. It's like, no, dude, no. Everybody knows what's up at this point. I'm getting a bit in the weeds here, but I know that there's been potential sanctions in the works or talks from the UK, and I think maybe some other countries as well. But that being said, when it comes back to Israel, they just kind of brush that off. It's like, oh, you guys are, believing the rhetoric of Hamas. You guys are siding with Hamas, and we're not doing anything wrong. But let me continue on. A video shared by the director of the Hamas-run health ministry and verified by the BBC showed small burned bodies lifted from the rubble at a strike in Han Yunis. The Israeli Defense Forces, or the IDF, said its aircraft struck a number of suspects who were identified operating from a structure adjacent to IDF troops in the area of Han Yunis. Excuse me. Now, of course, there's been more, military activity, more airstrikes. But just with this one being so devastating and just having, the situation where literally this is a doctor, someone who's been taking care of people, and for her to lose almost all of her family for what? Like, what does this accomplish? And, to have not even an acceptance of it, but to say, oh, well, we're looking into that. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. And more or less, it just shrugging it off. That's supposed to be nothing. It's a frustrating thing to once again cover over and over and over again. This is not a new story for this podcast. It's not a new story to the world. But it's something that I feel like we have to keep talking about. We will keep talking about, no matter what comes, until this shit stops, until this shit fucking changes. Because it can change. I do believe that. I don't think that this is just some inevitable outcome that has to keep happening. I hope I get to see that and talk about that one day. But let's move on. I want to say brighter news and, I guess a dark moment. From the Associated Press, Russia and Ukraine swap hundreds of prisoners in first phase of major exchange. Russia and Ukraine began a major prisoner exchange Friday, swapping hundreds of soldiers and civilians in the first phase of an exchange that was a moment of cooperation in otherwise failed efforts to reach a ceasefire in a 3-year-old war. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the first phase brought home 390 Ukrainians, including soldiers and civilians, with further releases expected over the weekend that will make it the largest swap of the war. Russia's defense ministry said it received the same number from Ukraine. It's very important to bring everyone home, Zelensky wrote on Telegram, thanking all who worked to secure their return and pledging to continue diplomatic efforts to make more exchanges possible. Let's see, scrolling ahead a bit. Kyiv and Moscow agreed in Istanbul last week to the exchange of 1,000 prisoners from each side of their first direct peace talks since the early weeks of Russia's 2022 invasion. That meeting lasted only 2 hours and brought no breakthrough in U.S.-led efforts to stop the fighting. So I was waiting for this part to resolve. We didn't really talk. I don't believe we talked too much about the peace talks in Istanbul. They really didn't go anywhere. They really fizzled because Zelensky was like, hey, I'll show up, but I'm not going to talk to anybody on that side unless Putin shows up. And Putin was like, maybe, and then he just didn't show up. Trump also was like, well, I want to be there. I want to be a part of the deal. So after I'm done with my Middle Eastern tour, I'm going to make a stop there. And then when he realized that Putin wasn't coming, nothing really happened. But that being said, there were some talks, and of those talks, it was this prisoner swap that came up. So it's not our first time covering one, but this is a pretty big one. This is phase 1 of it, so I hope that continues to go well. Hopefully people get to go home on both sides. I think that's at least a bit of good news. That being said, there really wasn't any peace resolution. There really wasn't anything resolved out of that. Conflict is still ongoing, so, the fight rages on. The conflict continues. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and hit the Hudson, New York City. Anyway, from The Independent, boat explodes on Hudson River during NYC Fleet Week. 1 dead and 2 injured. 1 person is dead and 2 people are injured after a boat exploded on the Hudson River during New York City's Fleet Week on Saturday morning. The vessel blew up at the North River Wastewater Treatment Plant near West 138th Street around 10:30 a.m. The deceased person, a 59-year-old male, was a worker on the barge, according to a New York Police Department spokesperson. In a statement posted on X, the U.S. Coast Guard said the incident was linked to hot work aboard a docked boat. I do not know what hot work means. I probably should have gotten more details on what exactly that means. But rescue boats rushed to the scene to extract a man overboard who was pinned between a dock and a boat. Another person who was also rescued. The 2 injured people sustained minor injuries. So that's good. I can't imagine being through something like that and it's like, hey, you're just a little bruised up, you're just a little fucked up, but you're going to recover. Thank God. Oh my God. Someone blew up on some hot work like that. Hey, so it could have been worse, right? Hazmat crews later worked to decontaminate the barge and assess methane levels. Stinky. Pix 11 reported the boat is owned by the city and transports raw sewage to a treatment plant. So that's just an added gross part of it is the fact that this is a barge, it's full of garbage, and it also blew up. The incident comes days after a Mexican Navy sailboat crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge, leaving 2 dead and 19 injured. So yeah, trouble out there on the New York waters. You know, watch your step, watch your currents. I don't fucking know. I don't get on boats often, y'all. And this is not encouraging me to do more of that. Granted, these are obviously two outlying situations. They also are. It definitely feels like a only New York kind of vibe, especially with the thing that we covered, days prior with the fucking uh, the Navy boat thing or whatever the fuck. That was a bit uncanny, a bit surreal, but Anyway, we move. We have one more story that I wanted to cover. It's an update. We're going back to New Orleans. We're going back to the jailbreak. Tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak. Anyway, but let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll close it out. Oh! I forgot. A highlight of the game night last night, especially food wise. Oh my gosh! Shout out to Johnny Guitar. He knows who he is. He made some banging cookies. They stole the whole show. That's why I was like, I have to like stop traffic and talk about this. Chocolate chip cookies, the ratios on it were immaculate. Just amazing chocolate chips. You got like a good salty taste to them, like to the point where everyone was asking about it. Like, did you see salt? He's like, no, just normal salt. And I'm like, yes, yes, bitch. I love it. I love a good sweet and salty cookie. And it was nice and dense. Like we were all eating them up, man. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I had to talk about that chocolate chip cookie. Anyway, let's go ahead and finish this break off. Break them off a piece of their funk. Ooh. Oh, that got me. Mm. Oh man, it's got me sitting in my thoughts. Mm. Shout out, shout out to the listeners who make it this long. You're the real ones. Oh, oh. From USA Today, more people arrested for helping escaped New Orleans inmates as search for five continues. More than a week after 10 inmates broke out of a New Orleans jail, authorities have recaptured five and made a slew of other arrests of people accused of helping them evade capture. At least seven people have been arrested and charged with helping the inmates, including most recently a fellow inmate accused of collaborating with the escapees. I'm sorry. Trevin Williams, who did not escape from the New Orleans jail, was charged with 10 counts of being a principal to Simple Escape. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill, still getting her name wrong, announced on May 23rd. As I promised when we initiated our investigation, we will hold absolutely everyone who contributed any role to the prison break in New Orleans accountable, Murrill said. Also on May 23rd, the New Orleans Police Department said it arrested Emmett Weber on a charge of accessory after the fact of Simple Escape. Weber was one of four people questioned after investigators combed through surveillance footage connecting crucial dots in the search, the police department said. Also, in recent days, 30-year-old Casey Smith was arrested for allegedly helping two of the escapees with transportation, the police department said. She is also charged with being an accessory after a Simple Escape. They joined two other women and a jail employee who have been charged. The Louisiana State Police issued a stern warning to members of the public that anyone assisting the inmates on the run will be caught and arrested. So I was like working out, and oftentimes I will, see people on, watching news while they're on the treadmill or whatever. And I noticed like, oh shit, like there's the story that we've been covering, the New Orleans escape. And they were talking about those two ladies. And I was like, damn. So like, there definitely was a whole web of people involved in getting these guys out. So that being said, the number is in half now. It's been half down to 5. As well as we have, like I said, those other arrests. So, I mean, it's closing in. But that being said, this has been a pretty impressive run for over a week, and there's still half the people who made their escape out. It's also worth noting too. I can't remember where I heard this from. I want to say it was Start Here, where the prison didn't, I think hours went by, up to like 1 to 2 hours went by before they contacted law enforcement and said, hey, we actually have a prison break, by the way. Like, they were trying to like figure out what was going on and like circle the wagons. And it's like, okay, cool, we understand that that's protocol that you have to do, but you need to tell law enforcement that people have escaped. What the fuck? Like, you keep reminding the public that these are murderers, these aren't good people, don't help them, blah blah blah. Okay, of course, whatever, fine, but like, you guys didn't do your job throughout this whole fucking thing. And like, yes, there have been people saying, hey, there was bad infrastructure, we have problems with staffing, there was only one person there and they went to go get fucking like, I think hot chicken or some shit, I don't know. And they weren't even like, they were like technicians or whatever, they were like technical staff. Like, there needed to be better infrastructure. There needed to be more people working, better staffing. Like, there was just so many problems that definitely all kind of fell into place for this breakout, for this escape to happen. So, we're definitely keeping tabs on it. We'll see what comes of it, and any more recaptures or whatever. Anyway, that's going to be the episode for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any other socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. That's a free action that helps out. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let's see, sharing is caring. You can also follow on TikTok. You can follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts. Whatever platform that you like to listen on. I'm probably there, just waiting for you. In the next episode, I don't know. But let's see. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.